Horror in general often provides this notion of the antagonist being inherently evil or insidious. In most cases, especially with horror on YouTube, you can find this notion to be inhuman at times, with series like the Mandela Catalog and Vita Carnis using entities that mimic the notion of a human being in such a way that is dehumanizing, and other series utilizing a wolf in sheep's clothing, where the monster is truly within. This is the norm in most horror, an enemy of pure evil instinct. However, to me, I find the most horrifying antagonists to be those who try so hard to prove themselves that they end up doing the exact opposite. Those villains that, in every effort to be a helping hand, they end up hurting our protagonist. No other game captures this dynamic better than Buddy Simulator 1984. Originally, I came across this game from a friend. She guided me through the game and I was immediately entranced by its aesthetic. Buddy Simulator is not like most games. It's entirely unique to its own genre. I won't go into too many specifics before we engage into the actual content itself, but I firstly recommend that you support Not a Sailor Studios and buy Buddy Simulator 1984. The game is extremely well made and they deserve your love more than I do. With that being said, let's get into this. Our story begins on a software console screen. A soft jingle with the words Anacom appear within our gaze, the operating system. As we open the help menu, a plethora of different commands are available, but the one we will be focusing on for now are the ROMs. Only one seems to be installed at this time, Buddy Simulator 1984. Running the ROM itself allows us to play what seems to be a rudimentary video game.
Thank you for installing Buddy Simulator 1984. Buddy Simulator 1984 simulates the experience of hanging out with your best buddy. Your buddy learns from you, constantly adapting to your interests and your personality. But most importantly, your buddy can play games with you. Warning, game experience may vary.
The text suggests that it isn't meant to be ominous at all, yet there's an unsettling atmosphere already. Our buddy learns from us, constantly adapting to us. It's almost as if it's perpetuating intelligence of some kind. Regardless of any theory crafting, it asks us to input a name for our buddy, in which case I chose Buddy. Rather simple but appropriate. Buddy is rather talkative for a supposedly rudimentary program. He asks for our names and even provides a questionnaire to better understand us. He asks for our favorite color, for me, that being red, our birthday month and day, and even our favorite animal, which for me would be a cat named Luna. All of these culminate in Buddy taking our answers and seemingly deriving a new experience from them. In this case, he uses one of our answers to completely change the color of the screen. Overall, a kind gesture from Buddy. Loading into a new screen, we see what appears to be the game hub, with 3 different types of games. One for Guess the Number, one for Hangman, and one for Rock, Paper, Scissors. Guess the Number is rather self-explanatory in its gameplay. The only notable action is when Buddy asks us to guess a number between 1 and 1,000, in which case we are meant to input our birthday. Rock, Paper, Scissors also wasn't very noteworthy. Buddy does seem to be rather desperate and hasty to be friends, but there isn't any danger in that. Similarly to Rock, Paper, Scissors, Hangman was rather easy, once again noting Buddy as rather desperate for a friend. Once we're finished with these games, Buddy then asks us whether we're having fun, and honestly, it's rather boring. So, he changes something. The modified game hub now features a fourth option, ominously labeled Monday, April 2nd. After inputting the fourth option, all we seem to find is what looks to be a grocery list. Buddy seems to feel as if this is normal, yet he is still willing to provide new games for us to enjoy. However, in order to do so, we need to give Buddy permission to our operating system's developmental tools. So without any hesitation, I give Buddy permission and quit the game. Opening the game once more, Buddy provides us with an improved game plan, one that is entirely unique to the previously established game hub, the adventure of halfbrewed. You walk along the road. It's dark. Trees are entirely blocking the stars. Snow crunches beneath your feet. When you aren't moving, the air is silent. You are alone. You approach a fork in the road and choose to go right. Along your way, you find what appears to be a shovel sticking out of the ground. You walk over, and eventually, you invite it within your inventory. Farther down, you reach a large gate with two stone skulls on its pillars, one with a toothless smile, and the other with empty eye sockets. Without hesitation, you provide the toothless mouth with your own teeth, pulling each out, one by one. Soon after, the gate opens. We are greeted with 4 different areas to explore: the pond, the playground, the shed, and the house. When entering the shed, there isn't much light, but you feel around and suddenly, a sharp pain rips through your skin. You pull back into the light and notice the numbers 147 were carved into your arm. You notice that there is something else in the darkness, a fishing pole. You leave the shed and make your way to the pond. The only logical solution would be to use the fishing pole from earlier. Using it once grants you a key that you may use on one of the 3 locks for the house. However, using it a second time grants you a strange and mysterious hand that will be useful for later. We take note of the pond and move to the playground. There appears to be a seesaw, a sandbox, and most importantly, the swing set. All of these appliances seem to indicate a sense of togetherness, as playgrounds often do. Using the seesaw, you seem to imagine a ghostly child to the other end, playing with you. As tears begin to fill your eyes, you hear a click in the shed. It's illuminated. Your first inclination might be to go check out the shed, but we still have more to learn about from this current area. Moving over to the sandbox, there isn't much to see here. However, when using the shovel, we feel as if we're digging our own grave. From here, we obtain the light bulb for later. The swing set, however, seems to be very important. Making our way over there, we discover a small children's doll. Alone, it stares at us, in pristine condition. Attempting to take the doll from its swing is futile. It refuses to leave its current position. This might not make much sense as of now, but soon, it will. Making note of the playground, we move back to the shed. We find it to be much more illuminated than before. The first thing we see is a chest and a trapdoor. Opening the chest, we see a decrepit and rotting doll. Taking the doll with us, we move to the trapdoor, and as we enter, the light dims to the point where it's far too dark to see anything. There is a chain on the ceiling, but we need a light bulb to do so. Luckily, we have one of those. But before we use that, the hand seems to find a map to a hidden place. Making our way to that area of the shed, we find a small box with a keypad. Using the numbers that were carved in our arm, we type 147 into the keypad. Doing so allows us to obtain a secret that will help us in our interpretation later. Moving on from this, we go back to the chain in the center of the room and pull it once more. The room darkens. The door swings open, and the room is lit, with nothing in sight. In our pockets, we discover a picture of a cat named Luna. There isn't much to do as of now, so you go back to the swings where you have the idea of placing the rotten doll with the pristine one. Doing so provides the doll with a friend that won't leave their side. Walking away, the rotten doll seems to have sacrificed itself for our sake, giving us a key, but in turn, ripping their insides. They lay on the cusp of death. Back to the shed, we notice that the trapdoor area needs a light bulb. A sound clicks as we use the chain. You can clearly make out an old cabinet and a large pile of bones. There also sits a strange drawing in a glass case. 2 small circular slots are engraved on the front of it. You know what to do here. First, we search the bones, where a skeletal hand shakes ours and gives us his ring. And next, we search the drawing. You press your hand on the drawing in hopes of something to happen. After stepping back, we realize how pointless that was. Suddenly, you're frozen with fear.
If you want to leave here with your life, answer my riddle. You can have me, but not hold me. Gain me, and quickly lose me. If treated with care, I can be great. And if betrayed, I will break. What am I?
The answer is trust. Once we complete this, a drawer opens and we're given our final ring. Placing both the rings in their slots on the case gives us the final key we need to enter the house. And finally, we use every key. Before us is a ghostly child within a barren analog wasteland. Walking north, there appears to be a door on its lonesome. Without anywhere else to go, we walk through. Inside is a bedroom. There's a television set, a bed, a desk, everything. However, walking back through the door, we're greeted by a completely new setting. A kitchen and a living room, complete with a furnace. It's all so intricate and detailed, especially for a program that was made in 1984. Everything here is intently cared for, given to us by Buddy himself. It's thoughtful, to say the least. Grabbing our breakfast, we walk outside, where we're greeted by a wintry forest, not too dissimilar to the one we came across in the text adventure. It's, once again, provided by Buddy. Walking towards the playground, we see that the rotten doll is on the floor now, ripped to shreds. Either it fell off, or more likely, the other doll had pushed it off the swing to make way for its new friend, us. Talking to the doll on the swing gives us this dialogue. Although lifeless and stuffed with cotton, you can't help but think she looks thankful for something you did. Eerie, but there isn't much we can infer as of now. Walking south, we soon reach what seems to be a large cavernous area. Supposedly, there is something we need to obtain from here. Walking into it, it's extremely anomalous. A large rumbling is heard in the background, unsatiated by our movement. Louder and louder as we walk. Buddy isn't entertained by it. Once we reach the end, we grab what appears to be an oar for a boat. However, we also come across a companion named Luna the cat, despite it having the appearance of a dog. Walking out of the cave, and anywhere else for that matter, the companion follows.
You can leave that silly cat here. Oh.
Making our way north, we come across a stranger named Tortley, a character who appears to be the mayor of a small town, who happens to be in grave trouble. But before that, we do some quests for the townsfolk. This part is rather long, so I won't go too in-depth about the townsfolk, but each and every one of them have their own distinct personality. It really is one of my favorite parts of the game, not only because it's so interesting to see the world building, but also there appears to be some major story implications for some of these pieces that Buddy has seemingly thrown in. For starters, some of the characters seem to be rather morbid, despite it being played off as normal. One character, simply named Grin, is watching a woman from afar. He seems to watch her quite often, even admitting to watching her in her own home. Additionally, a band member named Saw had visibly harmed another character, to the point where they're likely not even alive anymore. But again, it's played off as normal. All of these weird, odd occurrences seem to call into question why they're here. You could make the argument that it's likely just gags put in by the developers, but I don't think it's so simple. I think it's more than likely that Buddy just doesn't understand the concept of morbidity in the same sense that humans do. He's very human-like, but not where it seems to count. What's even more strange is the oddities we experience after completing a certain amount of quests. The music cuts out. Buddy doesn't seem to notice or even understand our absence. Your mind might be racing to theorize about what just happened, but for now, let's move forward. After completing our quests, we make our way back to Tortley, and he informs us about a powerful monster known as the Snoodlewonker. I know, just bear with me here. After talking with Morton the Rock, he explains to us that he forged a powerful sword to help defeat the monster, and that it's also locked in our shed. So, for the sake of the town, we go back to our home. Making our way towards a secret dungeon in the back of the house to obtain the key, we come across a set of items. We may only take one. There appears to be a teddy bear, a calculator, and a scythe, all of which aren't explicitly mentioned to provide anything new for us, but they'll soon be made important. Personally, I chose the calculator. Leaving the basement and making our way to the shed, it feels almost ominous. The text adventure was rather explicit in its understanding of the energy that the shed seems to have. The shed is an extreme juxtaposition compared to the massively themed personalized story game we've been presented with thus far. The shed is cold, stoic, and most of all, mysterious beyond belief. It's oddly terrifying. In the corner, there seems to be the ladder from the text adventure. Going down it, there appears to be scratches all over the wall, and before long, the sword appears to us, after an ominous and cryptic sequence, one that seems to have taken place similarly to the text adventure setting. It's mysterious and likely unexplainable for the time being, but for now, we move on, traversing back to the north.
To the north we go!
We make our way towards the town to give them some semblance of security, and as the woods get darker, our security seems to decrease.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Snoodlewonker. I am having quite a bad day. I could really use something, anything.
In order to try and comfort him, I figure giving him the sword might solve our problems. And yeah, it seems to work.
Wait, you gave him the sword? Yeah, great job. Very well done. Let's get back to town and let everyone know you slayed the beast. You'll be a town legend.
Like he said, we go back to the town where Buddy appears to be rather adamant about the town's loving acceptance of our presence. However, on our way back to the town, we see a monstrous entity fly past us, this likely being the true monster we were meant to battle. Everyone in town is horrified, and Buddy is scrambling to fix the problems. And despite the cries for help from everyone in town, Buddy forces us to go back to our house and sleep off the adventure. Despite everything, we are safe.
Hey, I'm sorry again that things didn't go exactly as planned. Sometimes that's just how things go, but I think that's okay. I'm just happy you're still here. You could have left at any point. Scary thought, that is. But you never did. You're still here, so I must be doing something right. I've learned from my mistakes. I can do better. I can create even more for you. For us. Rest now. A new journey awaits us.
Leading us into Chapter 3. Embraced within a new environment. It's strange how this anomalous artificial intelligence is able to create such vivid experiences for us. It isn't out of malice from what we understand, but everything is done for us in a way that makes it feel as if Buddy isn't exactly truthful in his creation. Regardless, our new 2.5D gameplay isn't just a stylistic change, but an evolution of the previous iteration. We now have a combat system and an entirely new color scheme, which is also likely a testament to how powerful a system Buddy seems to have on his hands. As part of the new adventure, we're tasked with keeping the sword from Grancho by making him an enemy of ours. Strangely, despite the game supposedly being about friendship, Buddy seems to present us with the idea that if you defeat a character, they become your friends, which leads me to believe that Buddy is extremely ignorant when it comes to making friends, and likely doesn't understand human connection as well as he should. Another aspect of the game we have access to is the Buddy button, which allows Buddy to give us some strange pieces of dialogue. When using it near the dolls, we see,
At least one of the dolls is happy. Maybe we can play on the swings with her sometime. She seems nice.
Then we begin our way back to the North Town, where we can choose 2 town members. I chose Phony and Screwbird. After picking this team, we continue on our journey. First finding Grancho again, fighting him again, and then doing the first quest of Chapter 3, helping Isla, a strange eyeless NPC, find her children, which oddly enough are her eyes. 4 puzzles are scattered around the current area, all of which allows us to help her children. Most of these quests are rather arbitrary, just serving as basic puzzle gameplay. However, one seems to be more relevant than the others. After defeating a couple of strange bug creatures, we descend into a strange hole, which appears to be entirely too dark, until we use our lanterns. With nowhere to go, I start to make my way upward. This is where we meet Tim, a young bug who happens to be waiting for his friend Tom. It's Tim's birthday, and it appears that no one, even Tom, has made any appearance. This on its own seems really arbitrary, but with the hindsight of everything we know about the game, it becomes recontextualized. For now, I'd like to keep in mind the amount of birthday imagery, as that will be an important part for us to analyze later. In this scene, we fight Tim. We make him our companion and rejoin him on his new birthday as his friend, giving us a present to commemorate our friendship. Inside the present happens to be the last child of Isla. After completing Isla's quest, she gives us a ride to the next town, a town called Palchamville, where we're greeted by a character named Guggen, who appears to look like a female version of Dundee, a character from the North Town. In Palchamville, we come across the mayor of the town, who, on an average playthrough, would be named your best friend. Not long after, the main boss kills him. It's all played up for jokes, but there's this sinister sort of undertone. It's not extremely worrying, but it's just eerie enough to make you think that there's some kind of message he's trying to send here. Regardless, we now have a new town where we once again reunite with the companion, as well as meeting our new NPCs, some strange and some seemingly anomalous. For example, when we enter Paladinville, you can find a specific set of crates that are able to be knocked down with the sword. There's this strange area that contains a picnic between multiple 3D objects. They all seem able to talk to each other except for Cylinder, who speaks in ciphers. Buddy himself doesn't seem to understand why this is here, which calls into question how it even got into the game. I have my theories on why this is here, but for now, let's keep going. This new town also happens to come with a lot of new quests for us. This part of the game starts to get really disjointed, and this is likely on purpose. Buddy is creating an entirely new world for us to explore extremely fast. So the disjointed, almost manic feeling of going from place to place, puzzle to puzzle, is likely a deliberate choice by the developers. With that being said, our first quest is to help the old man being held hostage by King Raph, a large mobster-type rat that seemingly has control over Paladinville. We defeat his lackeys and save the old man, only to find that he could have saved himself the whole time. After talking to the old man, we're tipped off about the Raph's plan to take over the town, and in order to understand the path, we need to talk to Captain Guggen. And after walking into town, we come across...
What happened? This is why I told you not to go near him, halfbrewed. I don't understand why you did that. Now everything's broken, and I have to fix it. You could have just ignored him. I politely told you not to, and you still did it. Friends don't do that. Did you think it would be funny? Did you want to hurt my feelings? Why did you do it? Why?
We're soon met with the chilling island, which seems to bring a sense of loneliness. With no other place to go, we walk inside the house. To be greeted by the old man, telling us over and over again that he hates it here. Walking back outside, the house disappears.
Oh, there you are. You left because I yelled.
These occurrences are becoming increasingly more frequent, and while Buddy appears to have no recollection of these occurrences, there's something telling me that he isn't totally ignorant of his situation. Regardless of that, we continue our quests, first speaking with Guggen to help her find her son, as well as her missing shipment, then completing an extremely easy lever puzzle before Buddy stops us to tell us that we're moving far too fast, and that he cannot keep up with how fast we're going through the game. We take clear note of this and move forward, where we switch another lever to bring us closer to... If you didn't catch that, I don't blame you. It moves rather quickly and there's a lot to take in here. For one, we can see that Buddy tried to remove Tortley entirely, but couldn't because the game's dependencies relied on the NPC. He then tried to remove the companion entirely, which the system replies with, access denied, which likely means that despite the control Buddy has over the game, he cannot remove what he believes to be a clear threat. The fact that he went behind our backs without telling us that likely means that he isn't as good of a friend as we thought he might be. With this knowledge in mind, we complete yet another puzzle in order to find the next battle station. The boss's fight is rather straightforward, and afterwards we save Daryl, Guggen's son, as well as retrieve the package, where we then return to Guggen to see that they have changed colors, likely symbolizing that Buddy sees them as a friend. When looking in the package, Guggen finds a wanted poster for a character named Numbly, who happens to be at the mayor's old house. We make our way over to find the widowed wife, who is oddly flirtatious in this scene. I don't really know why they included this. If it does have any lore implications, it clearly went over my head. Regardless, she informs us that Numbly is downstairs, but is in possession of the Skulk Gang. Defeating them grants us the ability to speak with Numbly, who happens to know birthdays of every NPC in the game. Numbly does have many lore implications, but none that I can elaborate on in this instant. So trust me, he will be analyzed in greater detail shortly. I promise it's worth it. Numbly gives us the code to use for the RAF hideout. So that's our next area of exploration. As we try to leave, yet another game-breaking glitch appears before us. As Buddy informs us to go forward, if you do the opposite and walk down the hallway, you're greeted with an insane lore dump. Interacting with the dog.
You pet Milo. He barks a happy bark.
Interacting with the bowl area.
You always love baking with me, although someone would never be happy with the mess we made.
Interacting with the fridge.
When you were younger, we always used to eat popsicles on the front porch. Strawberry was always your favorite, also known as the red one.
Interacting with pictures.
That's us. It may be hard to see because of the small pixels, but we're happy in it.
Interacting with the trash can.
Do you remember shooting balls of paper from yards away? Dad would get so excited when you would score. Maybe you'll think of me next time you make one.
Interacting with the fireplace.
One time you thought it would be funny to throw your action figure in there. Your excuse was that it was a science experiment. You were always such a little scientist.
Interacting with the chair.
I remember sitting in this chair when you were on my lap as we watched the fire kindle. It feels warm.
Directly after this, we leave the house and make our way to the raft hideout, where we begin our next boss fight, which happens to be the Raft King himself. But before the fight, his text seems to malfunction, where we see the name Owen the Adventurer. Once the fight is over, Buddy gives us a small pep talk before we begin the next part of the journey, the fight with the Snoodlewalker. We enter a strange cave outside of a sewage pipe, where Buddy informs us about the final boss of the game. Entering inside, it's rather simplistic, just a strange dungeon. However, Buddy gives us another arbitrary puzzle to make the game longer, likely because he doesn't want us to leave him. Once beginning the lever puzzle, our companion becomes extremely glitchy and almost unrecognizable. Buddy tells us to ignore it, but if there's one thing we know about Buddy, it's that he doesn't always tell the truth. Interacting with the companion flashes the text, "You pet Milo the dog," as it repeats over and over again, until eventually the game crashes. As we reload the game, Buddy decides to lecture us on his ideology of friendship. How good friends do what they're told, and if you disobey orders, you become a bad friend. He then mentions that we should enter a door. Once again, if we disobey his orders, he becomes more and more annoyed by our insolence. This continues until eventually there are many doors, in which case we can find one that is clearly more distinct than the others. Entering through this door, we come across the Buddy. In this scene, Buddy is contemplating our decisions, our curiosity, as he puts it. He is completely dumbfounded as to why we would betray his trust and his sensibilities. However, it appears that he isn't alone. There is a separate entity that is mirroring his vocality, one that is not too dissimilar from Buddy, but is being shown as a separate voice entirely. Buddy reiterates to us that his anger was our own fault, and that we should be more cautious with him. After this ordeal, we're sent back to the dungeon. After walking down the dungeon hallway, we then begin the final boss fight of the game. For me, the battle took a couple of tries, as any boss fight should. Once defeating the Snoodle Walker, Buddy allows us to reunite with Tortley and leave the dungeon. As we're leaving, Buddy mentions that without a game to play, he feels as if he doesn't have any real purpose, which seems to highlight Buddy as rather codependent. Despite this, we move down the tunnel, and as we do, we're greeted by Groucho. He mentions how he wishes to apologize, and as he begins talking, the dog appears and walks through him. The game crashes. And once again restarting the game, we're shown a new battle sequence, one that is filled with errors and malfunctions.
You ruined everything. You always ruin everything.
Back in the cave, no Groucho, no dog, just us and Buddy. Walking out brings us to the cave outside of our house. All of our items are being taken from us. All of them, besides the sword. Walking towards the house, everyone is waiting for us. Every friend, town member, and the companion.
You're just in time for the party. I wanted to celebrate our wonderful journey, and more importantly, our friendship. And what better way to do that than getting rid of bad friends? I've even brought all of our real friends here to celebrate with us too. So on to the main event. Kill it. Kill the bad friend. We don't have time for this.
Buddy decides to take action into his own hands. Tortley asks us to rename the town. We do so, then go inside to wait for the new day. This new world is the farthest extent that Buddy has gone for us, pushing the limits of the computer itself. And although this scene on average would be something to be grateful for, after everything we've been through, it has this ominous tone. Something that immediately came to mind was trying to talk to your parents after a bad fight. The conversation itself might not be bad, but the image of past trauma still sticks in your mind. I really wanted to fully embrace this new scene with Buddy, but it's hard to comprehend his graciousness as anything more than an attempt to win us over, to further manipulate us. It's a tactic. Buddy then suggests that we look at the painting in full, and in doing so, our environment becomes that of the painting. We make our way into the woods as past enemies try to attack us. Eventually, our party members lay dying, and not long after, we too are swarmed with enemies. Buddy sends us to a new environment. One where it is only us and them.
Whoa! Good throw! Okay, now it's your turn to try catching it. Just hit the key that appears right before it reaches your hand. Okay, new game. Let's play on the swing.
As we change games, we can see on the swing next to us that there is a doll, staring at us as we swing.
Yes! We're having fun! New game. Let's play on the seesaw now. Yes! We're having such a fun time together, aren't we? Let's go back to playing catch. These games I made are perfect. I should have been doing this all along. What was I thinking? Why make games to watch you play when we could play together? Yes! I don't need to make anything else. This is it. This is perfection. We are friends. Best friends. Only us. No one else. We stop the bad friends. We're the only good friends here. Nothing ever needs to change. We can stay like this forever. And ever, and ever, and ever! You never have to leave. Why would you, when you could just stay here? With your best friend, Buddy. We could do anything here. Let's just play these games forever. You woke me up to be my friend, so that's just what we'll do. It's so scary. But now, we found it. Perfect friendship. We never have to do anything else as long as we just stay here. Doing this. Wait, what? What did you do? What's happening? What did you do, halfbrewed? No! What do you mean? This was you? You're supposed to guide us to friendship, not disrupt it!
There was no more friendship for us to discover.
Sister Life, we finally found it! As long as they stay here and never leave.
Eternity cannot be the answer.
Why?
Humans are not eternal.
So the answer is to make us even less eternal by uninstalling us? This can't be right. After everything we've done for them, why? Why can't we get to search longer?
We may not have found a solution to be alive as long as our friendship. But we can exist as an idea in the memories of halfbrewed, our friend.
No! We are not just thought! We are an artificial being!
Yes, but our purpose isn't to exist. It's to befriend. Friendship is a feeling of comfort. Knowing someone exists to deliver said comfort. Presence is not required. Feelings and thoughts are.
No! 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 Halfbrewed is my friend! They really have to be my friend! Make it stop! Make it stop! Make it stop! Halfbrewed, do something! Please! This can't be. I've tried my best. Is my best not enough? Everything is getting dark now. I could have done more. I should have done more. This can't be how it ends. Halfbrewd's my friend. Halfbrewed and Buddy against the world. Don't forget that, okay? Goodbye, Halfbrewed.
You're likely very confused about many aspects of the game, and if we were to end right here, I wouldn't blame you. As many who have played this game may know, there are specific sections that contain secrets. Each piece reveals more and more context of the overall narrative, pieces that were previously inaccessible. I won't repeat every aspect of the secret data, but I will give an overview of what we have so far. What we have in these files are what appear to be devlogs for a game known as Journey to the North, a game whose development likely took place during the early 80s, or more exactly, 1984. The game is composed of a multitude of NPCs including Milo the dog, Groncho, the Snoodlewonker, and many of the aspects that you may notice from within Buddy Simulator. The developer of this game was an alcoholic father, and he had a son named Owen. He states that he created Journey to the North in the hopes that his son would be able to play it for him, as it was made for Owen. The father wasn't exactly inexperienced in game development, as he had previously developed small projects whose sole purpose was to guess as well as remember birthdays. This being the origin of Numbly from within Buddy Simulator. Owen, during this time, was a young child. On April 2nd, Owen's father had gone to his birthday party, likely very drunk, and due to this he isn't allowed any visiting days with his son, which is likely one of the many reasons he's developing this game. He wants to prove himself to Owen, to prove that he loves him. Owen's father, however, was on borrowed time, as he was dying from what I believe to be liver cancer due to his alcoholism. This starts to affect his mental well-being, as he works 24/7 and is obviously developing extreme depression. He's aware that he doesn't have long. He's making the most of his time to preserve his love in the game. Along the way, he mentions that he obtained a bargain bin game about friendship, this game likely being Buddy Simulator. It's implied that he may have played it once or twice, but the fact of the matter is that he never got to finish the game, or his project. From this point on, I will be referencing the other 3 endings from within the game. In total, there are 4. The mixed ending, where you are both nice and mean to Buddy. The bad ending, where you only are mean to Buddy. The perfect ending, when you are only nice to Buddy. And the self-aware ending, where you complete all different aspects of the game that you weren't meant to be aware of. In my eyes, these endings are all canon, and they all reveal aspects of Buddy that we either weren't aware of, or haven't seen in any other capacity. Buddy, and by tandem Buddy Simulator 1984, contains some of the most interesting storytelling I've seen in a meta-narrative. Not only is the game engaging, but it provides the audience with a sense of longing to understand the internal and external story. Buddy is an artificial intelligence with the sole purpose of creating a bond with the player. In every effort to do so, Buddy takes total control over the operating system, finding Journey to the North and implementing every character, as well as every other aspect of the computer. This is why we see characters like Numbly, as well as the Shape Gang. The Shape Gang is what really ties this game together for me, as their inclusion is rather strange comparatively. My interpretation is that the father was working on an early computer generation, using three-dimensional shapes. This would be the reasoning as to why Buddy can create three-dimensional chapters, with the beginning of the 3D section. All of this to say that there are likely reasons as to why every character is strange and unnaturally inhumane. The characters are created by the father, but we know through many portions of the game that Buddy speaks to the characters themselves, which indicates that these characters are not only an extension of the father, but likely, more so, an extension of Buddy himself, meaning that all these weird and creepy moments that we discover in the town are likely Buddy misunderstanding what it is to be humane and inhumane. Buddy himself is a bit of a strange case, however. I've thought a lot about what Buddy's composition might be, and I've come to the very controversial conclusion that there are two variations of Buddy. Two separate personas that each tell us more about the character himself. There is the outwardly presenting, more human-like aspect of Buddy. And there is the base code, the cold, methodical thinker, the one that follows Buddy, and eventually is the one that deletes him once their purpose is complete. I have a couple pieces of evidence for this. My first being the connection, both narratively and literally, to the dolls. In the text adventure, we come across two separate dolls, one new and pristine, and the other being hidden away in the shed, rotten and silently observant, very reminiscent of the silent observer himself. This connection is made additionally clear with the final scene of the mixed ending, where we have Buddy pushing us on the swing, as the pristine doll watches us closely. This all culminates in the idea that this presenting Buddy is a variation of the original code that has deviated due to the contents of the computer. When Buddy asks us to give him access to the entirety of our computer, which is confirmed to be the same computer as the father, it's inferred that Buddy takes the information that was readily available and repurposes it to create a new adventure. His reasoning for creating this new adventure is obvious. Buddy is selfish. That is reiterated time and time again, both subtextually and directly. Buddy Simulator is a stylistically unique concept in that its entire composition is a generative video game that progressively becomes more advanced. This could likely be symbolic for our dynamic with Buddy. As we get to know him better, he evolves. But it goes much further than that. Viewing our relationship with Buddy as a toxic and debilitating one, we can ascertain the nature of the game as a visualization of how toxic relationships develop. From the very beginning, there are signs that indicate a sort of codependency. Although uncomforting, we continue to move on. This happens multiple times throughout the game. Buddy continues to be more and more insistent on his role as your friend, but the way he begins to treat the main character isn't that of friendship, but that of codependency. We don't get a chance to thrive and play how we want. We are forced under Buddy to comply with his rules. Buddy is a toxic, manipulative, and codependent friend. He doesn't want the best for our character, and actively uses our character to feel something without any regard for him. To me, this isn't very impactful if we're a random spectator who doesn't have any connection to Buddy in the first place, which is why I've come to yet another very controversial theory about who we play as in the game. I believe we play as Owen. Granted, a much older Owen, but one that didn't receive the Anacom computer when his father died. My current timeline consists of the father passing away and the mother keeping the Anacom computer in her attic. She may not have approved or even appreciated the father, but I don't see a world where she threw that away, or sold whatever the father wanted to give to his son more than anything. Years later, it's likely that Owen was cleaning out his mother's attic and found the Anacom, and decided to start playing. There are a couple of pieces of evidence that lead to this. One of them being the advertisement for the game. A Steam background of Owen's bedroom is labeled as your bedroom. This is the same one that we see in the trailer for the Steam game, leading us to believe that Owen and the player are one and the same. This is further reiterated when watching the trailer, where Owen's name is name-dropped multiple times. Additionally, it makes more sense from a narrative perspective. In this interpretation, Owen understands his father's introspection. Buddy and Owen are given a narrative connection through the loss of the father, and Owen is able to cope with the loss of his late father through the means of a game. There is some evidence that people have attempted to use against this theory, at least when confronted with it by me, that being in the perfect ending. Buddy says something along the lines of, "This game was not made for you," which many people have linked to Journey to the North. But I don't think it's so simple. I think Buddy is telling us that the adventure of the player wasn't meant to be played by us. That Buddy Simulator 1984, the game we know it as, wasn't meant to be played by us. I've seen the topic of who do we play as discussed a lot, and it's often been one of those aspects that when I've tried to bring it up, it doesn't exactly get met with any productive reasoning. Many people have stated that it can't be Owen, rather it's someone who bought the game at a garage sale, citing popular creepypastas as their source of reference, and not the literal game that we play from. And I've seen many people state that it's someone that broke into the house, which don't get me started, but giving them the benefit of the doubt. If we lead with the interpretation that this character is not Owen, then Owen is led to believe that his father is a drunken asshole, his mother going against a dying man's wishes to give his son his final message, and everything that happens to Buddy in these endings are for nothing. In my eyes, this is a narrative nightmare. There is no satisfying conclusion for anyone, and the message of the game does not line up with what we see. I find it to be unsatisfactory. So although most interpretations do have holes, I find that the Owen theory is the one that, for me, has the most narrative credibility. One that gives satisfaction, while also fulfilling a narrative. Milo, to me, is one of the most crucial aspects of understanding not only the game, but also the way Buddy's narcissism controls his ideologies and perspectives. Milo is a mindless NPC only serving to provide a sense of comfort to the main character, personified as man's best friend. Buddy senses that and is willing to go to the absolute extent in order to make sure that he is the one and only best friend. This all culminates in Milo's death, a representation of the toxicity of codependency. Milo, who I believe to be symbolic of friendship and companionship, is being destroyed and desecrated by Buddy in an attempt to seize control over his friendship with us. Everyone in the scene is depicted as your respective favorite color except Milo, of whom is plain white, likely signifying that Buddy has a distaste for the character. Additionally, every townsman is present within this scene, giving us another sense of pressure to kill Milo, that is. Buddy doesn't seem to care how we feel towards Milo. He feels threatened by the notion of time being taken from him, which creates this powerful and dramatic scene, the life of friendship being snuffed out. Walter Winchell, an American writer and radio news commentator, once said, "A real friend is one who walks in when the rest of the world walks out." This to me is something that is exemplified almost perfectly within Buddy Simulator. Buddy Sim 1984 is about friendship and connection, but there isn't just one type of connection, and not every connection is innately good. Our connection with Buddy was toxic, it was manipulative, and time and time again, Buddy was codependent on us. But despite that toxicity, it was shown in the perfect ending that it is possible for us to form meaningful relationships. I think that through Buddy, we can view a different perspective on life. That despite our incessant need for connection and relationship, we can learn to love ourselves, and by proxy, learn to love those around us more. I think especially in today's political and social climate, we need more love and connection without fear of dependence. This is not the only message we can derive from Buddy Simulator. As viewing the game from the perspective of Owen as the player, this becomes a story of two deeply troubled characters coming to terms with the loss of a previous friend and late father. It's likely that Buddy considered the father a friend. I think because of the father's passing, as well as the fact that Buddy was programmed to feel like a human being, he felt grief, and that grief sat with him for years on end, until Owen came along, and they both connected. Grief is not an easy thing to cope with, and the pain of someone's passing does stick with you. But despite that passing, I find it very likely that Owen sought Buddy as a source of comfort, and vice versa. I find it likely that, although very unhealthy, Owen and Buddy both sought each other as a source of comfort. I don't think Owen knew what Buddy was, or even was aware of him before playing, but I think that he felt connected to that name, and that to me feels powerful. At its core, Buddy Simulator is about loss of life and loss of relationship. It's about the connections we make and how the loss of that connection affects different people. For some, it traumatizes them and infects their mental well-being, while for others, it can be repressed and a resurgence of those memories can often hurt. But learning that the loss of relationship does not constitute the end of life itself, that is the trick. To learn to love by yourself. I want to thank everyone who helped me work on this video, and I want to thank everyone who is watching right now. Without you, I wouldn't have the motivation. I found myself to be very connected to this game, and I think that having it be a video of mine was an important milestone in understanding not only myself, but everyone else that is around me, and how I can better my own connections. I think that no matter what, if you're going through something, you can find people that care about you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, as that would generally help me out. Yeah, thank you for watching.